came to baseball practice and picked me up. I got into the front seat of the car, and sitting in the back seat is this big bird the size of a giant owl. This bird had 2 heads, 3 legs, a big red beak, and a big black tail feather. And it was the meanest bird I've ever seen. All of a sudden this bird attacked me. If you look up here, you see a trapdoor scar where that red beak grabbed hold of me and we wrestled around. And matter of fact, I pulled off from his tail a tail feather, and we took it home. My grandfather was very upset, put the bird in the library. I never saw the bird again, but about a week later he took that tail feather and he tied a fish fly for me. He said, "Son," he said, "whenever you're fishing and you haven't caught a fish at the end of the day, you throw this fly and I guarantee you'll catch a fish." And 35, 45 times over the last 30, 40 years I've had to use it. I'm a very good fisherman. Didn't have to go to the box too often, but I'd throw this lure and I'd catch a bass, a walleye, sizable fish, never was skunked. And wonderful, wonderful lure that any fisherman, and I've thought of entering bass contests with it, but I feel it would be abusing some privilege that my grandfather had given me.
Professor Rüdiger Falscher spent his formative years standing motionless in the enchanted Bavarian forest, imitating many a tree in his silent pursuit of the wonder of bird identification. It was in 1858, at the end of an unsuccessful 2-year expedition, to locate the elusive chuckling quank, a half-inch bird rarely detectable if not for the sound of its obnoxious chuckle, that Professor Falsch identified the bird Brochuri Putinherecus, after discovering it in long narrow ditches of South America. The renowned but eccentric Belgian ornithologist Piet Koekoek, seen here in 1928 conducting field research with his assistant, identified this large noisy bird as a member of the jar-bellied leaf scavenger family. These are illustrations taken from his influential book on bird classification, Miscellanea Nonsensica. 1923, operating on a grant from the Kleinman Lovesprung Institute for Procreative Strategies in Stockholm, the ballet dancer and opera singer turned naturalist, Lotte Nudlik, who had performed in Stravinsky's The Firebird, as well as Mozart's The Magic Flute, observed that the Brochuri Putinherecus fed on the juicy foliage of the Wonkerieri tree exclusively. Unfortunately, the leaf of this particular tree bore an uncanny resemblance to the wrapper of the 1950s candy bar Chocolatomica. The South American consumers of this popular confection casually tossed the empty wrappers into roadside ditches and fields. There, our confused bird found and ate them, mistaking the wrappers for the nutritious Wonkerieri leaf. This led directly to its extinction. Despite the best efforts of the Bogota bird spotters, the last of the Putinherecus was seen plummeting from the sky over Argentina in late 1959. The locals used the bird's feathers to manufacture clip-on bow ties, which were then exported to the United States, where they became a brief fad. In 1964, 3 idealistic young Germans formed the short-lived Chartreuse Party of Baden-Baden and adopted Brochuri Putinherecus as the symbol for their slogan, "Recycle or Die."
Hox von Duper. Heute müssen wir über Vögel sprechen, aber hier sind keine Vögel. Wir haben ja das Schwein hier mit den großen Zähnen und keine Vögel. Ich sitze hier schon, muss über Vögel sprechen und keine Vögel sind in der Gegend. Naja, einen Vögel haben, das ist die Frage heute. Vogelgestellter, Vogelfänger, naja, das alles erkläre ich vogelfrei. Wissen Sie nun, wie schwierig es ist, über Vögel zu sprechen, wenn hier nur keine Vögel sind? Hm?
In 1997, the Detroit Zoo anticipated handing out more than 1 million gallery brochures to those visiting its newly opened Wildlife Interpretive Gallery. The zoo wanted to recover and recycle these brochures so that they would not be used once and then discarded. For that purpose, artist Jim Pallas proposed a functional reconstruction of the extinct Brochuri Putinherecus, an appropriate choice for the task. Constructed of pigmented epoxy fiberglass over a sturdy welded steel frame. the sculpture is able to withstand the vigorous interaction of the zoo's free-ranging primates. The artist strictly interpreted ornithological studies to recreate the plumage, its color, and patterns. Structural details were well documented in Cook's preserved specimens, which today can be viewed at the Orlando Museum of Unnatural History. Falsch's detailed anatomical sketches provided a record for the bird's complex survival mechanisms. One such documented feature of the bird's visage were the white hairs sprouting from its ear-like cavities. Fortunately, sounds of the bird's distinctive whooping song had been captured on Nudlik's early field recordings, archived at the Muséum National d'Histoire Naturelle in Paris. Pallas employed this sound to encourage visitors to recycle their brochures when they leave the gallery. As each brochure is deposited into the beak of the officious-looking Brochuri Putinherecus, the bird emits its distinctive hooting call.
Think about what happened to Brochuri, and you look at where we are now, and we just have to wonder, what's the next species going to be? You look out your window and say, cans of paint and TCBs, those little moist towelettes from the chicken place, and all of those things could be contributing to the same sort of ecological catastrophe that we found with Brochuri. So who knows? You know, there's some that say in 10 or 20 years we'll be looking back at species like dog and cat it just makes you think.